Two different games, Red Rising and Fantasy Realms. Similar style, which one we like best? Coming up.
Hi, it's Tarrant.
And Stella from Meeple University. Today it is a slightly different video. Rather than doing review on one single thing, we do two board games.
Two and a half, really.
2.5, yeah, you're right. Red Rising and Fantasy Realms. Now,
Plus its expansion.
thank you, the Cursed Hoard.
Yes.
Now, there is a reason why we do these, because those two games have very similar feels and mechanics and style.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about briefly how each game plays and then what we think of them.
Yes. So, we'll talk about Red Rising first, because this was a very big release at the start of this year. Very late last year, start of this year. It's quite a recent release. It's from Stonemaier Games, and obviously very well-known company, and it's become a very big game as it's been released to people. And it is, in a very fundamental way, it's hand management, and it's almost nothing more than hand management.
Radio.
So you start the game with 5 cards. Cards have got a number of core points shown on them. They have a way of scoring more points printed down the bottom, and they have an ability that resolves when you play the card. And most of these cards, if you get them right, you can score 30 to 40 points out of them if you combo everything up. And when you play your turn, you play one card onto a column in the center of the table, resolve its play effect, and then you pick up a card from somewhere else into your hand, and you resolve the ability of the column you took it from. And these are extra ways of getting points. They're little sort of area control type things, or they're worth little bits of points, but they essentially time the game. So if you took from the Institute, you put one of your cubes in the Institute. If you take from Jupiter, you advance one step on the fleet, and things like that. And that's essentially the game. You play one, you pick one up. You can also take one off the top of the deck and get a random power. Or if you're completely happy with your hand, you can just pick one up off the deck, put it somewhere, and get that effect.
Basically, when you're trying to, you get the best combo that you think you have, and that's it. You're going to stop drafting in and getting new cards.
Yep, and the game will end at the end of the round, in which each of the there are 3 conditions that have to be met. Someone's got to have 7 cubes here, someone's got to be at step 7 here, and someone has to have picked up 7 helium.
Ooh, that's nice.
And that's basically it. You score the cards that it's in your hand at that time, and whoever has the most points wins.
Mm-hmm. Now, we are going to talk about Fantasy Realms, a well-regarded game that was originally published in 2017.
Yes.
Then that has just had a new expansion, Cursed Hoard, this year. I believe there are others as well. I'm not 100%. I haven't actually played anything else besides these 2.
Yep. So Fantasy Realms is played in an extremely similar way, but without the actions. So it's still a pure hand management game. You still have a series of cards in lots of different suits and lots of different styles, and you're trying to have the highest value hand when the game ends. And in a more simple way, you either pick up a card and discard a card into the center of the table.
This is if playing more than 2 players, because there's a variance for 2 players.
Yep, so either pick one up and place it into the center of the table, or you exchange one from the table into your hand. And once there are 10 cards in the center of the table, the game ends and you count up all your points.
Count up 12.
Yep.
Oh, I think maybe some in the 2-player games and some in more, yeah.
Yep, yes, in a 2-player. And once again, these cards, they have core value of points up in the corner. They have some ability on them that may score more points, combo with some other cards. And a lot of these cards you can get 30 or 40 points out of them if you combo everything up correctly. And that's
Basically.
essentially the game.
Yeah, just the
That's
basic.
essentially
the basic
both
game.
games.
Yes.
Both games have cards that will combo with a different card, a specific card, or a different suit. They've both got a lot of different suits in them. And they've both got cards that sort of serve as wilds to fill in the gap. Like there's cards in Red Rising, which will be scores more points if it's with this specific card. It's a very thick deck, but then any orange card will count as a card name of your choice. And similar sort of thing over here with the wilds in Fantasy Realms.
Yeah. Very... It's different game, very similar feeling. When I play actually Red Rising first.
Yes.
And then I get a chance to play Fantasy Realms. Actually, I was like reading the rules. I'm like, Tarrant, this is so similar to Red Rising. Let's play. And then we did it. And then you agreed.
Yeah.
This is a much faster game. I don't know, or maybe a faster game. I don't know if it's much faster. It's still fast. And this is, obviously longer than this with a little bit of resource and a different track as well.
Yeah, I think you'll play more turns here, and you also have a lot more to absorb. So all of the different powers and resolving all of those powers takes a little bit more time over in Red Rising. There's not powers on cards in here. You're simply exchanging them for points. What you've got to deal with here
We're talking about the difference here already, yeah.
What you've got to deal with in Fantasy Realms is that there are a lot of cards that will blank other cards. And so you need to have a combination of cards in your hand that hasn't blanked the other ones out, because blank cards will score no points, they'll trigger, or they'll combo with nothing. There's no triggers or combos on them.
Right. And so, beside the speed and the things that Tarrant said, there's not really many, I would say, take that sort of card in Fantasy Realms. While in here, you can pretend something from happening that other players triggered and things like that.
Yeah.
So
there's not that much in here, but there are a few. There are a few take that cards in here.
I wish the take that card in Red Rising can be removed, because I was at one game where I was counting on this thing and this card, and then also in Tarrant, nope, you can't do that. But, so I was slightly disappointed. Well, I'm quite disappointed, but I know that that could happen. Anyway, it's kind of my fault anyway, not the game. But that's one main difference. And this is much simpler, much faster, and this one is a take longer and would take that card. So which one do you like best, Tarrant? And why?
I think I enjoy the little bit more challenge in Red Rising. I think it has. I don't think the combos are any harder or more interesting to get, but I think some of the abilities just kind of get in the way in Red Rising, because once you've got the hand you want, you don't really have to play these abilities. You just want to shed things off. But sometimes they add some interesting elements to the game. So, I mean, they are very similar, and I think it would depend on
the group as well.
The group. I think both of them are easy enough games to teach to new players and new groups. They've both got their foibles. So a new player on Red Rising is going to be overwhelmed by all the different powers and all the different effects. A new player on Fantasy Realms might struggle to wrap their head around what's blanking what, because that is a little bit complex to start with.
But other than that, I think the mechanics itself is simpler than Red Rising.
It is. So
simpler, yes. It's basically it. You got the card. You as Tarrant say, you take a card here and put it there, or take a card from this card and replace it with another until you get certain cards. Until the discard has certain amount of cards. Fantasy Realms plays actually 3 to 6, but with the 2-player variants.
Yes, and Red Rising also plays 2 to 6 with a solo variant.
There you go. I don't think this one has solo. So I personally think, I like both. I personally probably think like Fantasy Realms a little bit better because it's quicker. It doesn't have that mini card. So if you like Red Rising, but you don't like the mini card, maybe try Fantasy Realms. It's actually well regarded, and it's like not It's quite high rank in BGG as well.
It is. It's almost. It's in the top 500.
There you go. For something that was published in 2017, that's pretty good. Plus, I feel like in here the deck is bigger and the different type of cards. There are more cards than this one, than Fantasy Realms.
Yes.
So it is harder to get the cards that you're trying to combo. I know that there are orange cards, but on our first game ever, I don't think I've seen orange card.
You can go particularly in 2 players
Yes.
for a whole game without seeing a colour.
Yes. So while this one, there's a bigger chance that you will actually find a color because the deck is not that thick, and yeah, there's a chance that you will find the color you want, even several times. And it's
this one's also got some odd fluky cards in the green suit. Comes with a lot of them are draw cards and see what happens sorts of things.
So I do enjoy both of them, but I might enjoy this one slightly best because of the speed, easier to teach, easier to play, and not really mini cards.
I think the thing for me with both of these games, it's a real eye-opening to me on something which, I mean, when I saw it in Red Rising, I thought, well, this is the first time I've ever seen this. This is unique and an excellent approach. And I find Fantasy Realms did it the same 3 years earlier. But essentially, this is a modern board gaming version of Gin Rummy sorts of games. You know, Gin Rummy's a playing card game, and the whole thing is about drawing cards, taking cards off the discard pile to try to get a full hand of runs and melds. And as soon as you get something that meets the requirement, you play it and you score it. And that's really what this is. It's take a card, swap cards until... And it's similar to Mahjong is the same sort of game as well. You can see the whole discard pile out there. And so this is Gamers Rummy or Gamers Mahjong. But with actions in the case of Red Rising. So you're just swapping until you get the highest value of cards in hand.
That's actually true.
I'd never seen anything that had taken just pure hand management on such a simple way before.
So tell us in the comments if you have actually. So let us know, right, Tarrant? We want to know as well if you played anything like that, or if you play, one game and then all of a sudden, hang on, that's like it's so similar to that game, or which is older, or even newer, or even like the games that you kind of like, it's just too similar, or although I don't think they're kind of like related, they're released at this different year, it just happened to be very similar.
I did also comment after we played Red Rising, I was like, it's all cool, but it could be a small box card game. They've just chosen to release it as a big box fancy game with metal cubes, and there it is as a small box card game.
And what is the Cursed Hoard?
So the Cursed Hoard, we've got some new cards. Basically, there's 2 things here. One is that there's just a whole lot of new cards, including
let's put on the table.
Including 3 new. So we've got a whole lot of new cards, including a handful of new suits, outsiders, undeads. I think buildings are new, which just does more combos and more things.
It's a little extra rules, not too much.
Yep, I don't think there's new rules. I think it's just new combos. And then what does add a new mechanic is the cursed items. So you will always have one cursed item face up in front of you. That's a bad example because you get positive. You always have one cursed item face up in front of you. It has an action, and you can spend that card to do its action. It's a helpful little action. Then you draw another one. And each card that you use will give you negative points at the end of the game. So you get these bonuses, but you do lose a couple of points for doing it. And that's all it adds. That's
interactive, but it's still not considered take that cards.
There's no take that. There's some things where there's some blocky type things, but there's no direct take that.
And I just realized there's this one as well that I want to share in the Cursed Hoard expansion. This is actually prevent one other card from being blanked. This card can never be blanked. So maybe some people find, that blank. And then there's this card. This is
what I say. It can be the one negative thing about Fantasy Realms. It can be a little bit twisted, trying to work out, all right, this blanks this, but this blanks the blanking, so this is okay. And you've got to kind of pass it all together
yeah.
to make sure you know what's blank
Yeah.
and what's not. That's the only tricky bit to get your head around. But if you can get your head around that, then yes, it's a simple, quick game, and you can knock out a game in 15, 20 minutes.
So we would recommend you, if you like one, try to play the other, whichever one that you've played, and I think you might enjoy it. Just at similar feeling at different challenges.
Yeah. I think if you are a big fan of Red Rising, there's a good chance you'll find this one boring because boring's not the word, but by taking the actions out of it, it does take out the big second part of what Red Rising offers. And if you really like the actions, then you will find this lacking in that. If you find there's a bit too much here, but you like the overall vibe, then your Fantasy Realms for you.
And to take that card. Or you can just like both of them. Who knows?
Yes.
Maybe. So just let us know what you think. If you think it is very similar, you can just say, hey, Stella, Tarrant, those are so different. I don't know. Or just say hello.
We will disagree with you if you say that.
You're just warning, like in advance. Or if you find another game that is similar to this particular style, please do let us know. I do want to know as well.
I'm interested to see other ways of doing this, and like it's all in how the cards combo with each other, and I think there's a lot of interesting ways that can be put together.
Yes, so please write in the comment section below and help other viewers as well to find that new cards. Like this is where we are. We discover new cards. I discover new games by somebody commenting on our live playthrough. Like June Imperium, I found out about the game. Somebody comments like, "Oh, have you tried it? I think you like it." Blah blah blah. Like, oh, this is amazing. So let us know, please. That would be very helpful. And if you find this video useful, please hit that like button and subscribe to us if you haven't already done so. And hit the bell so you get notifications. We do how to play live playthrough, as I say, review like this and so on. I'm also on Instagram, so hopefully we'll find each other there too. And hopefully we'll see you next time. Bye bye!